breaking news. The Trump transition team is compiling a list of senior current and former U.S. military officers who were directly involved in the withdrawal from Afghanistan and exploring whether they could be court-martialed for their involvement, according to a U.S. official and a person familiar with the plan. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, Donald Trump's picks for his chaos cabinet are only one part of the process. He's got to get them through the Senate confirmation process. With Republicans set to take control of the upper chamber with at least 52 seats in January, the assumption is that Trump will have an easy time of it. But some of his picks are going to put that assumption to the test. The Wall Street Journal reports that some Republican senators privately doubt that former Congressman Matt Gaetz has the votes to become Attorney General. That is, if Gaetz hangs on long enough to get a vote. But that's not for at least another couple of months after the 119th Congress is sworn in. This Congress, the 118th, still has work to do, like pass a budget. Lawmakers have until December 20th to agree on and pass a federal spending bill to avert a government shutdown. Good luck with that, especially when you have a once and future president who demands fealty already calling the shots, and Republicans like Texas Congressman Troy Nehls saying out loud what we already know.
His mission and his goals and objectives, whatever that is, we need to embrace it. All of it. Every single word in his mission statement, we need to embrace. If Donald Trump says jump 3 feet high and scratch your head, we all jump 3 feet high and scratch our heads. That's it.
I jump, but I'm in a chair. Joining me now, Melanie Zanona, senior congressional reporter with Punchbowl News and an MSNBC political contributor. Tara Setmeyer, co-founder and CEO of the Seneca Project and a former GOP communications director. And Maya Rupert, former campaign manager for Julian Castro and a former senior campaign advisor for Elizabeth Warren. Thank you all very much for coming to the Saturday show. Okay. We got to deal with this breaking news first, and I'm going to start with you, Maya, and I'm going to come to you, Tara, next. Reaction to this breaking news that the Trump transition folks are compiling lists of current and former U.S. military officers for possible court-martials. I mean, that's terrifying for a couple of reasons. One is we're back to the situation where we're monitoring social media for really important updates. Like, this is not how people should be notified of a move like this. People who are wondering if they're a part of that group are looking at social media tonight and figuring out if maybe something. I mean, that's such an irresponsible way to make an announcement about something like this. Well, just to be clear, this is exclusive reporting by my colleagues here at NBC, but it is not. Donald Trump has been known to make announcements via social media in his first administration. We shouldn't expect that to change. But continue. I'm sorry to cut you off. But beyond the way it's sort of coming out like this, I mean, this is exactly what Donald Trump said he was going to do, and we're seeing it happen already. He is compiling enemies lists. He's going after people in a way that is, it feels personal. It feels like an abuse of power. We don't know what else is, we don't know what they're considering here. But again, this is what Donald Trump said he was going to do, and it seems like he is acting in accordance with it. And Tara, I'm going to read from the report from my colleagues, Courtney Kuby, Carol Lee, Vaughn Hilliard. It says officials working on the transition are considering creating a commission to investigate the 2021 withdrawal from Afghanistan, including gathering information about who was directly involved in the decision-making for the military, how it was carried out, and whether the military leaders could be eligible for charges as serious as treason, the officials said.
You know, this is, when you read that in the breaking news, I literally got goosebumps. Because those of us who have been warning about this we're apoplectic. We don't want to say we told you so, but we told you so. I mean, this is what Donald Trump said he was going to do. This is what he has been telegraphing for years. And it's just so frustrating that now all of a sudden there is pearl clutching about this as if we did not know this is what was coming. Now, this is an example of what we've seen in other authoritarian regimes where they want to trot out military officers or anyone who stands up to them and makes an example of them. It happened with Pinochet. It's happened in other regimes in the past. And yes, I'm calling it a regime. Timothy Snyder put out a great piece today called Decapitation America, where he's talking about examples of the people that Donald Trump is putting into power, that he wants to put into power, are not there to reform. They're there to destroy. And these folks that Donald Trump continues to appoint, he's putting them there to execute his wishes. You heard what Troy Nehls just said. This isn't about adherence to the Constitution. This isn't about rule of law. This isn't about reforming, bureaucracies that need, a couple of nuances here and there to make them more efficient. This is about destroying our current government in its form and shaping it in the image and likeness of Donald freaking Trump.
I'm going to read
Republican senators, yeah. I'm just saying, if Republican senators who actually have a spine, what little bit of a spine left that they have, actually respect the Constitution and the oath of office they've taken and want to keep this country a democracy, they damn well better stand up and say no, because they are the only ones that have the ability to stop this from happening. And they haven't yet. I'm not holding my breath, but the American people and the media and everyone needs to look direct to camera every opportunity they have and say, Republican senators, this is your job to either choose American democracy or Donald Trump authoritarianism. And I've got news for you. He'll come for them, too. Elon Musk has said so. He wants to nuke anyone who challenges him or questions Elon Musk. And he's apparently the shadow president as we speak.
And I'm going to read a little bit more from the report from my colleagues here at NBC. It is not clear, though, what would legally justify treason charges, since the military officers were following the orders of President Biden to withdraw all U.S. forces from Afghanistan. A 2022 independent review by the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, Afghanistan, blamed both the Trump and Biden administrations for the chaotic U.S. withdrawal in 2021. The NBC report goes on to say Trump first reached an agreement with the Taliban in 2020 to withdraw all U.S. forces from Afghanistan, roughly 13,000 troops, and release 5,000 Taliban fighters from prison. The Biden administration then completed the withdrawal and badly overestimated the ability of Afghan government forces to fight the Taliban on their own. Don't go anywhere. More with Melanie, Tara, and